welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making an advent calendar.
And with this advent calendar, it has like the little punch outs. So it's a lot of fun and I'm excited to share this with you guys. So there is a SVG file and a DXF file. So if you've got a silhouette that takes that file type, you can make this as well. So go ahead and grab that file. I'm going to be going over the design space instructions, but you can probably do similar steps in the Silhouette Studio if you have that. So go ahead and get that uploaded. So I'm zoomed out to like 25%. That way you can see everything on the screen. So if yours looks a lot larger than mine, then that's why. So once you have this uploaded, go ahead and ungroup your layers. And there are some modifications that we need to make. If you notice there's a lot of different lines, we need to change those to score lines. There's just no way for me to import those, so it's just a step we need to take. So you're just going to click right here on the screen layer. Go ahead and click down on this arrow to open your layers. And click right here on the lines and change that to score. And then click right above it so that you can attach those together. And we're going to repeat this right here for this layer right here as well. Anywhere you see black lines or a black rectangle. So we're just going right here, and they're all grouped together, super easy. So just open it up, click on the lines that you need to change that to score, click on the group of them to attach. We need to do the roof piece as well. Let's go ahead and change that to score. And we're going to go ahead and attach this. And we're going to do this for all of these pieces as well. So I'm just going one by one and doing this. So now if you don't have a perforation tool, that's perfectly fine. I've already cut out the lines where you need that tool, so there's no need to have one. Even if you have one, you won't be using it. So this way you can make this even if you have the Explorer. No need to have the Maker with all the attachments. I'm actually using the Explorer today. And we're just going to continue to attach these. One tool that I highly recommend having though is either a scoring stylus for if you have the Explorer and the scoring wheel if you have the Maker. Without that tool, this is going to be very difficult to put together. And everything's probably not going to line up right unless you get those folds exactly like they're supposed to be. So if you don't have that tool, I recommend getting that before getting started. So again, we're just going and we're changing. I think it's easiest if you just click on the layer. You'll have to kind of scroll down. You open that up, and we're changing that line to score. We're clicking the group and attaching it. So there's quite a few layers, but it really doesn't take that long. I try to make the file as organized as possible. And so there is one more modification that you can make to this file that will save you a little bit of paper and time. So if you see right here, I have these numbers and then little circles that they glue on. So you can actually use your Cricut pens to write on each of these doors instead of gluing the numbers, or you can write on them by hand. So that's just another option if you want to save a little bit of time and save a little bit of paper. I'm going to use the cutouts just because I like the extra color. But that is just an option I wanted to tell you about in case you're trying to save some time and paper. Especially if you have a lot of these that you want to make, that's going to make it so much easier. Alright, we've just got two more of these to adjust, so we're just opening this up, changing those score lines, and then attaching that layer. And our last one right here. And we're going to attach that. So one way that you can tell that you have all of these changed into score lines is if you go to your color sync, right here under the black, if you see a lot of lines, that just means that you still have lines you need to change to score. So that's just one way you can check to make sure you got them all. But I can see here that I've changed them all. We only have this one black piece. Okay, so before cutting, make sure that you change any colors if you want to adjust any of these colors. And again, if you want to do the Cricut pens, I do have a link on my blog, a full tutorial on how to write with Cricut pens, and you can just find that under the tutorials if you're not sure how to do that. So let's go ahead and cut everything out. We're going to go to Make. And we're just using our standard mat. And one thing, you do want to make sure that you see those score lines where they should be. You don't want to see them on a separate mat. If you see them on a separate mat, which would be this black mat right here, that just means that you did not attach them. So you need to go back and attach them. See how we see them right here? So this shows that our Cricut knows where to score and knows where to cut, so everything will cut out the way it's supposed to. So just kind of make sure, if you see that, like I said, they would be on this black mat. So if you see them there, you know that you forgot to attach something. So just go back and do that. And all we're doing is we're just cutting paper using the settings that the paper needs. So for the white, I am using a glitter cardstock setting because I'm using glitter cardstock. And then for all the rest of the colors, I'm just using a medium cardstock setting. One note is when I get to this page right here, when it's ready to cut this page, I like to skip this page. So what that means is when it shows that you're ready to cut this one, just click on the next one to cut and then cut this one last. And I just do that because this one takes a while to cut out. If you see all these cut lines, it's going to take a few minutes. And that way you can start gluing and assembling your gingerbread house and all those numbers, if you're using the numbers, while this cuts out. So it's just a little trick I like to do, but you can cut it however you want. And if you are using Cricut pens on this, you do want to make sure that where you added those pens, that you see the numbers on the right door. Again, how it looks on the mat is how your Cricut is going to cut, score, write, and all of that. So it needs to look right on the mat. All right, so let's go ahead and cut everything out. So when you remove everything from your mat, just make sure that you're rolling your mat off of the design. That way nothing sticks to it, especially with some of the smaller pieces. If you just try to peel it, some of those smaller pieces may break. All right, so I've got everything cut out. So I like to start with going ahead and putting all the small pieces on. That way I don't lose them. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue everything onto the front of the house. And you can use any kind of craft glue for gluing this down. Definitely one specific for paper craft is gonna be good. I've left a link to the glue that I'm using, which is great. It's what I use for all my paper crafts if you want to get that. So we're just adding this, lining it up to the very, very top. Sliding it. And you want to make sure that goes all the way up. If you've got a brayer, this is great for helping to smooth down your paper when you glue it down to help give a really smooth look. And it kind of helps to smooth out the glue underneath too, to spread it all out. Then next I'm just gonna glue this little doorway, and these sides are lining up. You're lining this up with the bottom and then lining the sides up. Just right to the edges. Got a little glue there, but this glue dries clear, so it's not gonna be a big deal. Just gonna really smooth that down. Next, I'm just going to add this door on top of the yellow. And if you guys aren't sure how to glue all these pieces on, you can just look at the picture and follow along with that. And you can also create your own design if you want, so no need to follow what I do. This can actually be a lot of fun for kids to kind of put together if you're looking for something for your kids or grandkids to help you out with. You can just cut everything out, give them the pieces, and have them decorate the front of the house. There's no need to do it like a certain way. They can add the candies and everything however they want, let them have fun with it. Most of this project they can actually do themselves. You just might want to help them with the base pieces, which we'll get to soon. One of the other things that I'm sharing with you guys today is another advent calendar that I've made. So it's twice as big, but it has like doors instead of having to rip it out, which makes it really easy to reuse. Although you are going to be able to reuse this one too, and I'll show you how. But the front of those are the same dimensions, so if you like the design of that one better, then you can always switch the design out with that one instead of using this design. Or if you're making multiple of this version, you can mix and match that front. It's like a little Santa's workshop front. You'll get to see it at the end of this video. So you can get creative, switch out the different elements, and make these look however you want to make them look. Customize them for yourself. When gluing these little dots on, in my opinion, it's easiest to add the glue to the frame and then drop the color on. And I think it's easiest to do one color at a time. So I'm just adding the glue to like every other dot, and I'm just adding those reds on top, and then I'm just going to repeat that by putting the blues in there. It's super simple this way in my opinion, so that's just an easy way to do this if you're struggling to get the glue on those dots. Right, so now I'm just going to smooth all of those down really well using my brayer tool. Alright, so I just have my candy canes left. And we're just going to glue those and piece those together. These do have some small little pieces to glue on. The glue I'm using is clear, like it's going to dry clear at least. It's not clear when it goes on. So if you make a little bit of a mess like I'm doing, you're not going to see it at all. And I'm just adding the candy canes to our gingerbread house. And the front of the gingerbread house is done. So while I move on to the next step, I'm going to put a big book on top of this, and I want to make sure the book is big enough to cover it. And what that's going to do is it's just going to help this dry flat and really adhere everything down. So for the next step, go ahead and glue all of your letters together. And so you're just gluing the letter right on top of the circle. Oops. And I'm really lucky that my glue dries clear, so you're not going to be able to see this mess that I'm making. Okay. And once you have all of those done, we're just going to add them right here to where we poke all these out. So before you glue these on, figure out what side you want to be the front. So I like the little opening to be to the right. So I want to make sure it's laying this way when I glue these down. And there is no way that you have to glue these down. So I like to do random. If you want to make them go in order, definitely do that. But I just like to just grab them and do random. That way they got to search for their number each day. I do like to put the 24 up here, the big one. Now, if you want the 24 somewhere else, you will need to resize this. So all you need to do is resize the little circle and the number to the same size that the other ones are. And then if you want a different number up here, and you want it large like this, then just resize it to this size. So it's super simple. And you guys don't even have to use these. If you want to save some paper and save some time, you can actually use Cricut pens to write on this for you. If you've never used Cricut pens before, if you go to my blog at svgnation.com, I do have a full tutorial that'll show you how to do that. And so basically the Cricut's just going to write on here however you tell it to write, and you won't have to glue any of these on or cut any of these out. Or another option is you can write on these by hand. Grab a marker and write the days on there. So that's just a quick way to, save some time and a little bit of paper if you want. I just kind of like the extra colors. So that's why I went ahead and added these in case you're one of those people that like color and glitter paper as well. But if you're making a lot of these, I think definitely using the Cricut pens is going to save you a lot of time so you can get these made quicker. Alright, so now that I've added those, I'm just pressing them all down. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to put a big book on top of it while I work on the next step. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start by folding these. And just fold that in really well. Right there on that score line is just where we're folding at. Alright, and now I'm going to bring back this piece right here. So we're actually going to flip this upside down. So you want the numbers facing down on your workspace. And we're going to go ahead and grab these two that have the 4 pieces, and let's go ahead and start with one of them. We're gluing this right here, so we just need to add some glue on it right here. And when you glue this, you really want to line this up the best that you can with the edge. The better that you line everything up, the better everything is going to fit together. So you can kind of slide it as you have it there, and then just kind of hold it for a second so it can set. That way it doesn't slide out the way. You can use hot glue as well. That'll keep it from kind of sliding, but you're not going to be able to slide it if you put it in the wrong spot. So you just got to be real quick and careful with the hot glue. Once you feel like that's kind of set, go ahead and glue the other side on. So once that has a chance to set, we're going to go ahead and now glue on the bottom piece. And you can kind of fold these out a little bit so that they're not in the way for this part. And again, we're just lining it up with this very, very bottom right here. The best that we can with that bottom. And when you have that lined up, just give it a second, press that down and let it set just a bit. Alright, so while that sets, we're going to go ahead and grab these pieces. These were the longer pieces. And go ahead and separate these. So you have some that have 4 slots, some that have 2. I'm gonna put the 2 aside. And I'm gonna just take the ones with 4. This one has 6, so let's set that aside. So you should have 3 that have the 4. And these are the next ones that we're working with. So I'm just gonna take one of these. And I'm once again just folding on the score line, right down the bottom, and then on each of the sides. I'm gonna add some glue to this long side right here. And we're just gonna line this up right here at the very bottom. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna line this up right here in the between here where you see all the cutouts. You're going right in between. You don't wanna cover either of the cutouts, but it's gonna be super close. So what I do is I just line it up as close as I can to this line right here. And that's gonna put it in the place that you want it. And also make sure you have the sides lined up evenly because both of these sides are gonna have to go up. So you don't wanna have it on one side more than the other. So just check that. Now again, just kind of give that a chance to set before moving on, just because you don't want these slipping while you're adding the next piece. And we're gonna repeat that with both of these pieces right here, both of the ones that have the 4. And now we're just going to this next opening right here and lining those up. And we're just moving up a row and doing the exact same thing. Just taking my time. All right, so the next one we're gonna do is the one that has the 5 cutouts. And this is symmetrical, so you don't gotta worry about which way it goes. So again, we're just gonna fold and then add our glue and bring it up to this next line and take your time gluing that down and pressing it down for a moment. So then our next piece is the one that just has the 2 cutouts. Again, it's symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way it goes on. And this one is lining up. It's kind of hard to see. It's just a score line right here. So you may want to just line it up with the bottom this time with those lines right there. Just because it's a little hard to see that score line. And I'm always testing the sides, make sure both sides are gonna fit in to make sure I don't have it on one side too much. So we have 4 identical pieces here. So let's just go ahead and get started with those. So we're just gonna fold on the side tab lines and across the top. So we're just placing these where you see the cutouts, but it does have to go a certain way. So this is my bottom right here, and if you see, this one has a cutout, but this one doesn't. So the one without the cutout is where we're gonna start on the bottom. And we're just gonna line these up. You're gonna have to kind of move them around. And we're just lining those holes up with each other. And just get those to slide in. Like I said, you gotta kind of move them around and work with it a little bit. But then once you get it going, they should just slide right down. And we've got our last side going in right here. Right, before I continue, I want to go ahead and glue these down. So on the top right here, you see that there's these little tabs sticking up. So we're just going to glue those down flat. So we're going to move on next to these little 2 pieces right here. And as you guessed, we are going to fold on all of those score lines. And then we're just gonna add them in these little slots that line up perfectly. And just slide those in. All right, and if you notice, these have these little tab pieces too, so we've got to glue those and we've got to glue those. All right, so next we wanna come to our side, and we're gonna add glue to all of these side pieces, and we're gonna glue it on top just like that. So, I'm just adding glue down these sides. And then we're just gonna fold that up. And I think it helps to press it down like this. Turn it this way, hold these down in place, you know, for a few minutes. So once you think those have set enough, we're just gonna flip it over and do the same thing on this side. All right, so as you can see, our compartments are coming along nicely. So this is where all of our goodies are gonna go. But we need to go ahead and attach the bottom. So I like to fold this in. You can fold it on top if you want, but I like to keep it hidden. So I'm gonna add glue right here. We're just gonna lift this up. And make sure these are pressed down when you lift this up, because this should go over top. You might have to press them down and kind of fold it up a little bit as you do this. Just make sure this goes on top of all of these. And we're gonna press that in, and you're gonna have to hold it. And when you feel like it's almost set, I like to flip it upside down and go ahead and just press on it this way as well, just to help it out a little bit. All right, so next we have our roof right here. So let's go ahead and fold on all these score lines. The scoring tool is so helpful. I mean, could you imagine trying to like fold these exactly where they need to be? That would just be crazy. And nothing would line up the way it's supposed to. So you can do really cool things, like things that need very good spacing just with that score tool. All right, so next we are going to, so for this part, it really doesn't matter if you glue it on the outside or the inside, just because it's gonna be covered. So your preference. So I'm gonna start by adding this side down. Right, I'm gonna push these out of the way so I can line this up, and you're just lining this up with the frame right here going along the outside. All right, so once you feel that's down good, you can attach these. I'm just gonna glue on the outside. I just think it's a little bit easier, and they're gonna be covered anyway, so. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and glue these down on the sides. It doesn't really matter which way they go. All right, so I'm just adding this on here. Just goes on the side perfectly. This is just a decorative piece, you know, so it doesn't have to be used. All right, so we only have 2 steps left, but before doing those, it's very important that you fill this box first. If you add the cover on first, you're not gonna be able to fill it later. So go ahead and get your items and start filling your box. So I mean, if you wanna put certain things in certain numbers, just flip it over. So my 1 is right here. So for day 1, got my finger in that little hole. I put like a cute little Christmas necklace. Now let me look and find day 2. It's right here. We're gonna put like a little chocolate. So I think day 3 was right here. Just gonna put a little makeup item. And so you want to just sit there and fill all of these. They're decent sized holes. I mean, you can see how much room there's left, so you can put more than one thing. I'm just going to do these 3 things because this is just an example right now. But you can put candies, chocolates, Christmas jewelry, regular jewelry, beauty products, face masks, probably in like these bigger ones. For boys, you can maybe put like different powders that they like the little samples. You can get little toys off of Amazon or the Dollar Tree. There's a ton that you can do with this. Scratch off tickets, you can put cash in here. The top is a great place for a gift card or a bigger item. So there's a ton that you can do with this. So go ahead and fill that. And if you don't have the stuff, then just wait to finish it until you do. So once you have that filled, you're gonna add the front. So I'm just gonna make sure all these are pushed up and pushed down, because this is how we're gluing it on. And we're just gonna line this up. You may have to kind of push that bottom in a little bit if it's wanting to come out a little bit to line it up. And you just want to make sure all the sides, the top, the bottom are all lined up. And like my bottom is wanting to kind of come out a little, I've got to kind of push it in. And I'm pushing the top in just to make sure it's lined up well. So once that front is dry, we're just gonna add the roof. So that's our last piece right here, and you're gonna fold in half Will you see that score line? And we're just going to place this right on top. And the roof does kind of come out a little bit, so that's supposed to do that. So we'll start on day 1. We're just going to reach in here and we're just going to reach that little hole and we're just pulling up. And it just opens very cleanly. And let's see, we've got a necklace in there. So if you want to reuse this, after all these are open, just cut right here on those score lines and take these pieces off. And you may also want to cut these little tabs off as well. And then all you need to do is cut a new sheet of this. And then if you're using like the numbers, cut the numbers and add them on, or write them with the Cricut or by yourself, and then just glue this piece back on top. Of course, you don't want to glue it on top until you've filled it up. So you can make this reusable. This one's great because it's a surprise each day of getting to open these. Nobody can peek.
And if you guys have any questions on how to make this, then leave that in the comments and I will answer those there. And also make sure to like this video and subscribe. That way you get notified when I create more tutorials like this. But thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.